The kind of story I'm about to share isn't one you hear every day. In fact, it's the sort of secret most people would never dare whisper out loud. But sometimes, life in its rawest form doesn't fit neatly inside the lines of what's expected. Sometimes, the human heart stumbles into places it doesn't fully understand. And that's exactly what happened to me, one summer in Santa Fe. My name is Rebecca, I'm 43 years old, and for nearly 2 decades, my life revolved around one person, my son, Ethan. His father left when Ethan was only 5, and in that instant, my world cracked wide open. I thought I'd never recover. But Ethan, even as a little boy, became my anchor. His laughter, his curiosity, his sheer presence kept me from drowning in the loneliness that followed. He was my constellation in the darkest of skies, and raising him alone gave me a strength I didn't know I had. Now Ethan is 20. His home for the summer after his second year of college, taller than me, his voice deeper, his shoulders broader. The adobe walls of our Santa Fe home had always felt achingly quiet without him, but the moment he returned, it was as if the air itself came alive again. We slipped back into our familiar rhythms as if no time had passed, coffee at sunrise on the back porch, cooking side by side in the kitchen, late-night mysteries on TV, and laughter over jokes only we understood. It felt safe. It felt good. But it also felt different. I noticed it one evening as we cleared the dinner table. I reached for a serving dish and suddenly, he was right behind me. His hand brushed against my waist, an innocent gesture, just trying to move past me. But the warmth of that touch sent a shiver down my spine, the kind I wasn't prepared for. I froze, then quickly dismissed it, telling myself I was overthinking. And yet, the moments began to add up. His hand lingering on my shoulder, his gaze holding mine longer than it used to, the nearness of him filling spaces that used to feel so empty. He was affectionate, respectful, loving, everything a son should be. But my reactions were not what they should have been. A quiet storm of feelings I didn't want to name started stirring inside me. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't even about him. It was about me, about the years of loneliness, about the quiet ache of going without affection, about realizing how much I craved being seen again. I began to notice the way I presented myself in the evenings, slipping on a softer sweater, a touch of rose lipstick before dinner. Not for anyone outside. For him. For those simple, innocent compliments he gave me without a second thought, compliments that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. And I hated myself for it, even as I leaned into it. Then came the night that changed everything. A rare summer storm swept across Santa Fe, thunder rolling over the hills and lightning slashing through the dark. The power went out in an instant, leaving us in a world of flickering candlelight. Ethan grabbed one of our thick woven blankets and pulled it around us as we sat together on the sofa, the sound of rain pounding on the roof. His arm draped casually across the back of the couch, our shoulders brushing, our legs touching under the blanket. It was innocent, but the silence between us was heavy, charged. "You okay, Mom?" he asked softly, his voice low, almost tender. I nodded, unable to speak, my throat tight. Then he said my name, Rebecca, instead of Mom. His voice carried something I couldn't quite define. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" I forced a smile and said, "Of course, sweetheart." But inside, my heart was racing. The air between us felt different. He looked at me for a long moment before turning back to the candlelight, and in that silence, I knew he felt it too. In the days that followed, nothing looked different on the surface. We still cooked together, still laughed, still shared our routines. But underneath it all, there was a quiet awareness, a pull we both tried to avoid acknowledging. And it terrified me. One afternoon, while folding laundry, I picked up one of his college sweaters and breathed in the faint scent of his cologne. A wave of emotion swept over me, not desire, not confusion, but a deep, aching need for connection. For love. For someone who saw me, who cherished me. I realized I had carried my loneliness for so long that my heart didn't know where to set it down anymore. A few nights later, I went to a friend's gathering, trying to escape the whirlwind inside me. I took extra care with my clothes, something I hadn't done in years. When Ethan saw me before I left, he paused. "You look radiant," he said, his eyes holding mine for just a beat too long. And then he added, "Whoever gets to spend time with you tonight is very lucky." His words stayed with me the entire evening. When I came home early, I found him awake, waiting. We sat on the sofa again, sharing tea. He leaned his head lightly against mine, a gesture so simple, so pure, but it struck something deep inside me. That night, I knew we couldn't keep walking this line. The next morning, I asked him to sit with me. My voice shook as I told him how much I loved him, how proud I was of the man he was becoming. And then I admitted something harder, that in my loneliness, I had placed too much of my emotional weight on him. That it wasn't fair. That I had confused my need for love and closeness with something it should never have been. To my surprise, Ethan didn't look shocked. He didn't turn away. He took my hand gently and said, "I felt it too. And I didn't know what to do with it. But I'm glad you said something." Tears filled my eyes, not of shame, but of release. In that moment, we both understood. We weren't broken. We weren't wrong. We were simply two people who loved each other deeply, caught in the fog of loneliness, needing to find the right path again. That summer, we made a quiet promise to each other to create boundaries, to seek our own connections outside of the bond we shared. Ethan went back to college in the fall, and I began therapy, joined a book club, and opened myself slowly, carefully, to the possibility of love again. Our closeness remains, but now it has clarity, a healthy shape. He is my son, my heart, my pride. And though I stumbled on a dangerous edge, I found my footing again. I share this story not because it's easy, but because it's real. Loneliness can make us confuse signals, can push us into shadows we never meant to enter. But it can also teach us something vital, that love must be nurtured in the right places, with the right people, and in the right way. And if my words reach even one person walking through the same storm, maybe they'll find hope in knowing they're not alone.